Good evening, one and all. Rob, along with Keith Avallone. Keith,
Right.
the most anticipated guest I've ever had on my channel. He came on with me just now. He said he'll give me 3 minutes of his time and then he's going to leave. But not really. He's going to stay with us for a while. Welcome, Keith.
Thank you, Rob. Glad to be here.
And my right-hand man here, Keith White. Keith is going to be looking at chat for me tonight. And anybody in chat that wants to ask a question of Keith Avallone tonight, you go to Keith White. Keith is going to invite you in.
Yeah,
and thanks so much about that. First off, Keith Avallone.
See, that's going to be a problem. Just get two Keiths on the same screen. Two out of three of us are Keiths. That's a problem.
I don't need to be up the whole time.
Give us a little bit of background. Give us how I got started type situation and kind of a time frame.
Oh, well, it's a long and winding road. I spent 30 years as a disc jockey. Worked in cities all across the United States. Started out when I was a kid. I always loved sports and sports games and games in general. But I was a disc jockey for 30 years. The last stop of the Radio U-Haul World Tour was Denver. And that's when I kind of picked up my game business again. I actually started in Dallas. I was working in radio in Dallas for about 13 years. About 11 started. I went online with Play.com. And I had the football game and the wrestling game and the space invasion game, First Contact. And gradually grew from there. Then it got to a point where I had to choose between my day job or my hobby job. And obviously with 3 kids and mortgage, I needed to do my day job. So I shut down Play.com in 2004, stuck with radio. That's when the move to Denver happened in 2007. And then the radio thing kind of petered out in 2009. We didn't peter out, but it got to a point where I had to make a choice of either moving again or to stay in radio, or making a stand here in Denver. And my wife and I had talked about it prior to moving here, that this was going to be it. We really didn't want to leave Dallas. We've been in Dallas for a long time, had a lot of friends, but really felt like God was moving us here to Denver. And so we moved. And then when the wheels came off the radio bus, we said, we're staying here. Your kids were in middle school at that time. And that's when I began to ramp up the game business again. I did radio part-time. Well, I did radio full-time for another 2 years, satellite radio, kind of did both Play.com and Dial Global Radio, satellite radio for 2 years. That would be 2009 to 2011, 12-ish. And then that's when, and then the company, the radio company I was working for, got bought out. And again, it was, massive layoffs. And at that point, it was like, okay, we're going to go with the game business. So that was 2012. And I've been doing it. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but it has. Of doing nothing but, the game business.
Not the game that has put Play.com on a map, but the game that you are the most proud of that you've ever made, whether you even released it or not, or anything, the one game that you look back at and say, ha, 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 that's my baby right there.
I don't know. I feel that way. People have asked me that before, and I have to say that I feel that way about pretty much all my games. They're all special for one reason or another. Frankly, I kind of think the basketball game that hasn't come out yet is the one that I could sort of feel like, yes, because, the challenge all along was to have a fun, realistic basketball game that played in 40 minutes or less. And I had many people tell me it can't be done, but it has taken sort of a circuitous route to get where it is. So we've got this quicker playing highlights-based game, but also the full play game, which is great as well. And so it really is. I think it's a pretty astonishing. Well, I don't mean to sound like I don't intend to pat myself on the back, because there are plenty of smarter game designers than me. But I do feel like, yeah, I said it couldn't be done, but here it is. So that would probably be.
I don't want to monopolize your time on that game, the basketball game, but I was reading a description of it, and the way that it sounded was you would play the majority of the game kind of in a quicker play fashion, and then something about the last 2 minutes. More of a
well, originally that was kind of the plan, that you would play this express version, get to the last 5 minutes or last 10 minutes or the last quarter or whatever you want to do, and then you'd switch to the full play mechanism.
Okay.
But frankly, the highlights version is pretty fun, and it sort of felt laborious to have this really fun game that takes about 10, 15 minutes to play, and then you have to take everything apart, set up the game for the full play game, which takes a few minutes, and then play the final minute. It just so I revamped it, reworked it so that the highlights game is a game in and of itself with its own final minute sequence that breaks it down into second by second action. So the plan really now is not necessarily, although you certainly can, to start with the express game and then move to full play. The full play game is not going to be available till this fall. But once it is, then yeah, you can do that. But I think most people are going to be pretty happy with the express game, or the highlight. I've got to get out of the habit of calling it the express game. It's really more of a highlights-based game, and I think it is in and of itself is a satisfying experience and pretty fun. So, whatever you're reading, I mean, it has been a long and winding road to get to where we are. There've been a couple of, as I said, there've been a couple of detours, a couple of roadblocks, dead ends. There was a game engine that I invested pretty heavily in, did a lot of playtesting with, and eventually just scrapped it because of some statistical difficulties that were kind of insurmountable. So, and it was hard after all that playtesting and all that investment to just pitch the idea and just, start from scratch. But I did. That was a couple of years ago. So
how much? Let's say from the first time you ever started working on hoops to now, if you put it in pieces, like 3 months here, 6 months here, how much time total do you think you've actually put into this one game?
Oh my gosh! Well, I started working on it. I guess it was 2015 is when I really had the first idea for it. It was kind of a spin-off of the soccer game, really, soccer and hockey. The initial idea was kind of based on that, and the cards looked kind of similar to the soccer game cards. So that would be 7 years ago, and I haven't worked on it nonstop for 7 years.
Right.
But it's been, off and on, and the last 5 years, particularly the last 3 years, have been more on than off. We kind of kicked it into gear in 2019. So there's a lot of talk about it. In 2017, I did an event in Seattle and brought along the hoops game, which was developed to a certain point, and showed it around, and people were interested in it. And that's kind of where I got the ball rolling on it. And then it sort of stalled out, and we had people trying it, and we did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And finally, it was like late 2018. It's like, okay, we got to figure out if this hoops game has any legs or not. So we did this event in Chicago in early 2019, right around March Madness. It was March of 2019. And we had a big group of people. I mean, a couple dozen people showed up. I think it was almost 30. They packed it in that little game store in outside Chicago, in Elmberg, I think. I forget the name of the suburb. Anyway, so that's when it really got rolling, and it's been pretty steady work since then. So about 3 years, pretty much 3 years solid.
Very cool. If you've got a question to ask Keith Avallone, Keith White is here to help out. He's going to send you guys an invitation.
Well, I'm going to try to my email. Okay, here we go. Let me get
So, yes, do let us know that you would like to come in and ask questions of Keith. And, definitely let us know that you want in tonight. I sent an invitation to somebody I think Keith may know, named Ken Castro. You ever met this?
I just forwarded one to him.
Yeah.
Sure, I know. I've met him a couple times.
Yeah, and I think he said something about
a rematch in Hockey Blast that you.
Yeah. Met him a couple times in Boston. He showed up at a couple of the Boston events. So yeah, it's amazing how many people I've actually met in person.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so yes, if you'd like to come in, Keith is going to bring you in one at a time. Man, I got barraged today, Keith Avallone. I had 42 people ask me, "Can I come on live?" I said, "Yeah, but not all 42 at once, because if we do, we're going to be about this big in here, and that's not going to work." So,
Right.
yeah, we definitely would love to have you guys come in, join us. We'll be a 4 block and let you ask your question, get your result for your answer, and then we'll come to somebody else. But yeah, definitely. Keith's got Sam with him tonight too. He's behind the green. He's behind the green. Shelter back there. He's back there heavy duty
The
doing
Green
heavy duty
Monster.
lifting.
I
Yeah,
don't have Dwayne's email, but
doing the heavy duty lifting. I'll send it to Dwayne. And
Keith,
Keith,
I just
he's,
wanted to say, the baseball game that you came up with. I mean, that to me is like one of my favorite games. It's challenging. It's challenging playing with my cats around, so I have to fight around them. But I mean, this doesn't sound like I'm making this up, but there were times I would dream about playing a certain kind of baseball game in the past, years ago. And when I would wake up, I'd discover I didn't have that game. But to say that, I think that your game is probably the closest match to what I was dreaming of, as far as like the qualities and everything being a part of the game engine.
Right, you didn't know it, but I was doing a mind meld. I reached over and while you were sleeping and had my hand on your.
Yeah, you were.
That's where the game came from, right?
But to me, what I like about that is the game engine is, when a batter steps into a box, a batter's box, or a pitcher's on the mound, they aren't a group of statistics. They're not a baseball card. What they are is a set of skills and weaknesses, attributes and weaknesses. And that's exactly what the cards are. And so, they're driven by that, which with the game book and everything, obviously it still gives their numbers a likelihood to go close to what they would normally be.
Right. With the added advantage that you can add a quality and change the way they play, which is kind of the way it is. Players get on a hot streak and they're like champions for a month, and then they lose it, so you can, by adding that quality, you can sort of replicate that in a way that's difficult to do in other games.
Keith, got a question from you. Matt Sharver says, what is your general time frame from game concept to release? He said, I know all games are different, but just curious the developmental time for game engines generally.
It is a total crapshoot. The baseball game took about 11 years. The NASCAR game was even longer. I think I started messing around with NASCAR in the mid '90s, and then it finally came out in 2011. But then like Aviatrix 37, the Amelia Earhart game I did, that was probably less than 6 months. It's just like, oh, this will work, and it came together very quickly. So some games are fast. A lot of it depends on the complexity. Non-sports games are a lot easier to do than sports games, because sports games, you got that statistical element that you've got to try to replicate. Always numbers involved. Right, and it's more specific. I mean, there are numbers involved with Amelia Earhart's trip around the world as well, in terms of number of hours, number of miles, how far you can fly. So don't get me wrong. That is a statistical simulation in and of itself, but you're not trying to replicate. Well, she got 22 miles per gallon in her Lockheed Electra. It's like, that's irrelevant, but it's very relevant in sports. So, a non-sports game takes less, investment in making sure the statistics are close. And again, I don't feel like they have to be precise. I totally buy into what Keith's saying. That totally reflects my attitude. It's like you're trying to recreate, a player's performance, but you don't necessarily need to recreate the statistics to a precise degree. So some games take a long time, some games don't. I wish I could answer. There's not really an average time.
Right. Have you ever hit a zap? And when I say a zap, I mean it's like something got in your head and like, oh my God, this is going to work. And a day, 2-3 days later, you almost had everything worked out and like, oh my God, could it have worked any more perfect? And if so, what game was that?
That happened. that's happened rarely. That kind of happened with hockey, where it was like, oh yeah, with the shots versus the goal. That you roll within the shooter's range and outside the goalie's range, and you get a goal. That was kind of like, and that was really kind of from playing that Star Wars pocket model game where you sort of do the same thing. And it was like, oh, this would work for hockey. I would say more often though, it's like, oh, I got this great idea. Oh, this is going to be great. And then I, furiously work on something for like a couple of weeks and I get it on the table. I can't wait to play this. And then 5 minutes into it, oh, this doesn't work at all.
I got to change something.
Okay. It doesn't work at all. It's like, this is horrible.
Okay.
This is no fun at all. So I've had that happen many times, many times, especially with moves.
I'm sorry, sir. B.R. Wells, are there any plans for more classic or historic red, white, and blue seasons?
Yes, we've got 1992 coming out right around Memorial Day. And we have, of course, we're working on the 2021 season right now. It's going to be an interesting season. Kyle Larson with that dominating performance that we, frankly, Jerry Minks and I have been going, coming up with ways to make Kyle Larson dominate on your tabletop the way he did in real life NASCAR. So that's going to be really cool. And we, aside from that, we're probably going to do a 1960s decade season, or set for red, white, and blue racing. And that's all we have on the radar screen for right now.
Gotcha. Philip Reynolds has a couple of questions for you. The release date of Hoops, is that already in stone?
No, we are going to do the pre-order. We're gonna have Hoopla week. Hoopla 22 is next week. So Monday we do the highlights game demo, and then Thursday night. Actually, I have to be honest with you. We may change the Thursday night stream to either Thursday morning or I've got a dental appointment Thursday afternoon, and so I'll go over something like this. So that we probably are going to have to change the Thursday night. It's not going to be. I'll tell you this. It's not going to be 6 o'clock Thursday night. It might be Thursday morning. It might be Friday. But anyway, we'll have that second stream with the full play demo later this week. And the pre-order will start immediately after that. We're just going to run the pre-order for 3 days because experience has shown that's really all we need. Anything beyond that is extra. And then the release date, the official release date, is actually kind of up in the air based on this new equipment that we're having installed, and we got to learn how to use it. So we really can't make any promises. We're aiming for having everything shipped early April, late March, early April.
Gotcha.
And I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to make that.
If Philip had a follow-up question, are you going to have college teams on the Hoops?
We are not going to issue college teams on our own right away. However, I am confident that there's going to be a very large college presence in the community. A number of guys who have helped with the development of the game and who are familiar with the ratings process are even as we speak, working on college teams. And they'll just be released free into the community. So I'm 100% confident that there will be a college presence right from the get-go, but it'll be community, it'll be grassroots. So we haven't hard-coded college rules for the game. We haven't, we've got some fictional college teams. We did play test quite a bit with fictional college teams. So I mean, it's a pretty easy transition from pro to college. But we felt like, we have limited resources, and so we all of our other games are pro games. I mean, really, the deciding factor was all of our other games are pro games. We don't have this one game that's a college game, so we're going to go with pro. But I'm confident that there will be plenty of college presence with this game right from the start.
Yeah. We got a question from the gallery here. Big Paulie's going to come in and join us. Big Paulie, how you doing this evening?
Oh, fantastic.
Big Paulie.
Do you have a question? Do you have a question for Keith?
Well, my question for Keith was, I noticed that in your games, it's not all numbers, that you ask logic points, questions about given roles that a player could have. How'd you come up with that? Because that's very interesting.
How did I come up with that?
Well, you already said you reached into my head one night.
Yeah, I got it off Keith's head. That's exactly right. Yeah. I reached into Keith's head.
Did Al Wilson have anything to do with that, Keith? I noticed his fast drive football has kind of a engine similar to that with the
Al was inspired by History Baseball to create the fast drive football engine, and he asked my permission to use it. So I certainly gave my blessings. Al's been a great friend to play games over the years, and happy to help him live the dream and get his game out there. But yeah, it was definitely inspired by the baseball game engine, which is the same with the golf game. Back to Paulie's question, I don't really recall. I know that back when I made the football game, when I was working on the football game, this would be the early 1980s, late 1970s, really the early 1980s, about 1982, 83. Up until I rated players on a 1 to 5 rating, because that seemed pretty logical. 5 is really good, 1 is really bad, kind of like what the way APA does. A lot of games do that, where they rate you on a 1 to 5 scale. At some point in the development there, I couldn't tell you exactly when, but I do know that I was looking at the 1959 Chicago Cardinals team that I'd made, and I was just thinking, you know what? Really, they're either good or they're not. There's really not all this need for this shades of gray. We don't really need 5 different ratings. We really only need 3. He's either superior, or he's average, or he's not, or he's poor. And that's kind of where it came down. It began to be kind of crystallize the idea of yes, no. As I'm remembering it, the earlier version, it was not an overnight transition to that, because I remember with the original football game, well, not the original, but the version I'm talking about, early 1980s, there were questions like, is this player rated a 4 or a 5? Or is he rated better than 3? So so the questions were framed that way. But at some point, I just figured, you know what? We don't need all this. It's like he's either good or he's not. And that's where it got simplified down to 1, 0, 1, or 2, and from there, it was just a matter of sort of embellishing on that. The football game could very easily, rather than using a 1, 2, or a 0, it could say, is Aaron Rodgers superior on the pass? Or I could have used, it would be very easy to think of, okay, we get these 3 different qualities, or really 2 different qualities for passing offense. Let's say he's aerodynamic if he's really good, and he's I'm just thinking pulling something out of the top of my head. He's a clod if he's not. So he's a semi-clod, making him like a 0-1, or like a 1- or a 0+. Or if you're Aaron Rodgers, he's aerodynamic or semi-aerodynamic. And then you would also give them a similar rating for the run. That would have some sort of a either a pounder or a semi-pounder or a stumbler. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing names out, but that it essentially equates to the numbers 0, 1, and 2, and that really is. To move from 0, 1, and 2 to semi-champion, semi-sad sack is not that much of a stretch, really. It's kind of binary. I hope that answers your question.
It did.
Thanks so much, Paulie. We appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I got another question. I got another question for you too, Keith. And I think you answered it for me, because I think I asked you before I did it. When somebody like yours truly messes around with your game a little bit and maybe tweaks it a different way, by pedal to the metal, for instance, does that ever kind of well, it's fine, Rob. It's fine, Rob. But down deep in your craw, you're like, you know what? I wish he wouldn't mess with my game like it and just kind of screw my game up. Truthful answer, sir. That's does it offend you, or is it like, man, I'm glad people advance on the game? Tell me the truth. I'm right here now. I can take it.
I do not mind people tweaking my games to whatever they want. It's their game. They paid for it. If something they want to do makes them happy, or if they feel like it adds more realism, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I would say the thing I would have a problem with is when somebody makes changes to a game and then posts it somewhere and says, "Here, this is these changes I made," and because that's kind of uncool,
Right. Right.
But
and I didn't think you had a problem with it because you actually posted me on June newsletter 2020, and then when we had a season 5, and you were on, you had your car in there and all, and you said, yeah, he even uses this pedal to the metal. So I didn't think it was a problem, but I did definitely want to ask you the question right there. We got another question here coming in. Dwayne March is going to join us. Dwayne
March. Hey man, how are you?
Good.
I don't know if you know Dwayne or not, Keith. This is a Maryland fellow right here, and we will all get our snow this weekend. Dwayne, shoot your question to Keith, my friend.
Yeah, Keith, have you thought about doing an LPGA card set for History Maker golf? Maybe like an all-time great?
We've done a couple. Like Mark Ziegler out in the San Francisco area is a big LPGA fan, and we actually posted a couple of different LPGA sets already as newsletter freebies, and Mark is working on the current one. And so, I'm sure he'll be sending it along when he feels like it's ready, and we'll post it as a newsletter freebie. So yes.
Great.
Yeah. You got any more questions?
Good to meet you.
Dwayne, you got something else you'd like to ask?
Have you considered doing an all-time greats? I like some of the older golfers like Jan Stevens and Big Mama and Nancy Lopez.
I have not done them, if somebody wants to make them, I'm happy to make them as a newsletter freebie. As far as an official set, we don't have any plans for that at this time. We're always looking at new things we can do, but again, our production schedule is pretty full, and there's only so many things we can do. I think like last year, I think we put out like 31 card sets. You figure that out. That's more than one every 2 weeks.
Correct.
And when you think about the amount of time required to put a card set together,
and this huge corporation he's got.
Yes, it's massive.
All the
Keith, Sam, and who else?
Keith and Sam and no one else. That's right.
Sam.
I say that, but we do get a lot of help from the community in terms of making cards. Like Jerry Minks is a big help with the NASCAR sets. Travis Ninson's been helping out with baseball. Who else that I'm forgetting? Michael Owens with hoops and soccer. Rob Gallimore with hockey. We do get help.
Steve Tower with advertisement because he does a great job of that for you because I don't know Steve personally, but man, oh man, all you got to do is go to his channel, and a lot of the time it's a play.com game. So he really represents you well. Steve
is an awesome dude. He and I go way back. We met at the World Board Game Championships in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That would have been 2012 or 2013, I think it was. So he just made the trip down there. We hung out and just kind of had a instant, friendship. And so I've visited him a number of times. We've done some live shows together from Boston. We actually drove to his house, and we'd hang out and did a couple of All Hallows Eve broadcasts from his basement. And of course, he's come to Denver a number of times to be part of the convention. So he's just a stupendous guy. He's just an awesome, awesome, awesome guy who really likes Tom Brady. And
I don't mind Brady myself. He's a really good player. So, live events in 2022. Are there any? And if there are, kind of tell us your calendar year this year. If you've got, did I hit it with you at the wrong time? Hit that question at the wrong time for you?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Checking my time here. Make sure. Looks like I missed the call. I'm sorry about that, but that's okay. I'm with you. We do have
email. I'm sorry, Keith. I was telling Philip he should have an email. with a link to it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Live events. We're doing Dice Tower West in Las Vegas in March, early March. That's a big non-sports game. It's a big board game convention. I don't know if you guys have heard of Dice Tower, but they are one of the major players in the board game.
And where is that located?
Well, Dice Tower is an East Coast operation, but this is Dice Tower West. Their convention is in Las Vegas this year.
In Vegas in March.
In March. So we'll be there in March. And then we have our convention in July here in Denver, end of July. I'd like to do some live events somewhere else. We just got word from John Lowe, who lives in Lincoln, Nebraska. There's a great something called the Great Plains Game Convention or Game Conference that's going to be held in Lincoln in early May, and that's driving distance, about 6 hours from here. Right. So we're looking into possibly being a part of that. Cool. We in past years pre-COVID, we would do 2, 3, 4 of these a year, where we'd fly into St. Louis or fly into Seattle and or Chicago and
right.
get a game store to host us, and we'd just meet there and play games all day.
Gotcha.
But it obviously doesn't work, right now in COVID land. But hopefully things are going to start to, mellow out a little bit on that, and we'll be able to get back. Once they do, we do intend to get back to that.
It's cool. Thanks so much, Dwayne. We appreciate your question, bud.
Can I have him explain that blue, red, white, and blue turbo that he's coming up with?
Oh, okay.
Yes, that is a card game that we're going to try out at the convention. There have been a lot of people who have asked for an interactive, like a head-to-head competitive version of Red, White, and Blue Racing. And as you all know, Red, White, and Blue Racing is pretty much a solo game. It can be played cooperatively. We did an event in Charlotte in 2018 where right after we introduced the Pioneer set, and we ran a couple of races just kind of as a group, and it came down to, well, I think you should spend that blue chip and go for the lead. No, I think you should hold on to it. There are some decisions to be made, but generally speaking, the game pretty much plays itself. What can be done though to make it more interactive? So that's what Red, White, Blue Turbo is all about. It's not a sim necessarily. Well, it's really not a sim. You're not simming a race. You're competing as a driver though. It does use the driver cards and the driver qualities and the fast pit rating and the trophy rating. It uses all that. Also uses the track ratings to determine which are the key qualities. And you're dealt a hand of cards, and you play the cards sort of like you play spades or hearts, where you're playing like a reflex card, and it'll be there are a number of different values of reflex, like a 1 or a 2 or a 3, and then you also combine it with whether your driver has the reflex quality. For example, maybe he's got it starred. So if you played a 3 of reflex and he has reflex starred, that would come out to a 5, and you would take that trick, assumedly, assuming you would take that trick,
right?
And that would assume that reflex is like the key quality. If you're racing in a short track, then reflex is obviously going to be, like the trump card, But if you're racing on a super speedway, reflex is not a trump card, the star card. So in that case, if you played like the 5 of reflex, if you played a card which equated to 5 reflex, but it was a minor quality, and somebody else was out of reflex and then could play a star card, a trump card basically, they would then take the trick. And when you take the trick, you earn chips, you earn points. And then there's also a mechanic where if you play a card that allows you to tie another player, then you have a choice of either dueling them. It brings the duel aspect into the game, or you can challenge them. And if you win a challenge, and a challenge is done the same way as the Red, White, Blue Racing game, where you roll with the gas pedals and the brake pedals and so on.
Right.
If you win the challenge, you get a larger number of chips.
Okay.
Or if you win the duel, you get a smaller number of chips, but you also have the danger of spinning out, having to roll on your escape range, just like in the real game. So you have all the decisions, all the aspects of the sim game, but they're ported over into this strategic card game where you're making your call. Do Do I want to try to tie this guy, maybe do a duel and hopefully earn a few more chips? I'm a little bit behind. Do you want to play it safe and just slough off? So you have a lot of the same racing decision making, but it's more of a game than a simulation. So that's what Red, White, and Blue Turbo is.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun testing it out. It's not perfect at this point, but we're working on it, and it's pretty promising.
Great. Thanks a lot, Keith. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, Dwayne.
Thanks,
You too.
Dwayne.
All right. Let's see. We're bringing next person. Let's see. Next person that wants to come on.
Is Philip.
Philip. Let's see. There we go. Here we go. Philip Reynolds.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
How are you, man?
All
I'm
right.
doing all right. I just did my 100th episode yesterday.
All right.
Very
nice.
cool.
But
So-
I got a question for Keith. I've just been playing History Maker Baseball. I've only played, like, my next game is only going to be like my 10th game. But I had something come up in the pregame setup that I didn't know how to resolve. And that's the fact that, like, I had one of those results where an infielder was injured, but the catcher was injured as well. But the thing is this was my secondary catcher. Bench, like 2 or 3 days before, had gotten an 8-day game injury, and the role was basically saying that Corrales, the backup, was to be sat out because of the infielder's injury. I didn't really know how to resolve that. The only thing I knew and thought of afterwards is the idea of using a utility player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you could do that. That's, if you really know your baseball and you know some guy that's on the Reds who maybe played some catcher, you can do that. What I suggest, though, is, each of the games, a lot of people don't know this or don't recognize it. The game comes with a set of generic players. So, and there's a catcher. I think there's a couple of catchers in there. And what I would do in that, if I were doing that situation, I would assume that they're not going to just keep Corrales and not another catcher. They're going to bring somebody in, or they'll have somebody that could conceivably play catcher if Corrales got hurt. And so I would go to that box and I would pull out that catcher card and I would make him the catcher.
Yeah, and I've tried to use sometimes I try to use the baseball reference as played lineups, but the season I'm using is the 1971 season, and that does not always work because I've come across 2 instances like the Reds have Plummer, and he's not carded, and there was another player, and it was for the opposing team, which was the Phillies, that also was not carded, and it's like, I have to use the next best guy type thing.
Or you could card him yourself. It's pretty easy to card players with baseball.
Yeah.
You get a little index card and you write his qualities and you give him iron for catching and you put him in there.
I do have one suggestion for you, and that's the idea of online classes for learning, like Soccer Blast and Hockey Blast, and History Maker baseball type thing. That's the one thing that would be interesting, because I have Soccer Blast, I have Hockey Blast, but I haven't learned to play them yet. And it would be nice to have like online classes so that I get the mechanics right.
I think it's a good idea.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Take
Philip.
care.
Man. All right,
Thanks.
man. Have a good one. Keith,
Yes.
you were telling me earlier that you don't keep up with football as much when your favorite team, the not Washington football team, I'm sorry, the Saints don't make it into the playoffs. Now, number one, I'm going to ask you this one, though. Why is the Saints your team?
That goes back to when I was a kid. We moved from Arizona to Wisconsin, 1967. Quickly learned that everybody in my 6th grade class was a Packers fan. Everybody loved football, Vince Lombardi era. And I quickly, figured out if I want to fit in, I would like football. But me being me, it's like I don't want to follow the same team everybody else follows. Which team should be my team? So I was looking around, and I happened to have a picture in the newspaper. There was this picture of Dave Witzel for the Saints, a guy with a fleur-de-lis on his eyes. I said, "There's this team with this fleur-de-lis. It's the Boy Scout symbol. What team is that?" It's the Saints. Well, that's going to be my team. So ever since then, they've been my team. And of course, everybody derided me for following the Saints. At that point, they were just in their second year. They just started, Or actually, the first year in '67 was their expansion year, and everybody ridiculed me. As, "Oh yeah, that's the team that Paul Hornung and Jim Taylor went to. They're all washed up. You're going to follow them?" And of course, the more they did that, the more I wanted to follow them.
Right.
So, yeah, it is really.
Hey, I got one question. For social media or other sites like sites you can go on, Twitch and stuff like that, or Facebook or any kind of social media, what are you think some of the best sites as far as being able to follow people doing things with your games and like, I'm on, I know that I think it was a Baseball Demos did a 1987 Braves replay of your baseball game and posted a lot of those games on YouTube. But are there certain things that are on your radar in terms of social media and other apps and stuff like that where
you know what? I could spend my entire day following social media and looking at people's projects because there are so many of them, and so I have to really limit that in order to get any work done. I mean, Rob's got his channel, and Steve's got his channel, and people. There's so much content being cranked out. It's really hard to follow it all. I just read today. I mean, this morning I carved out some time. I listened to James Cast's podcast on the 2022 showcase pro football showcase thing that I did with the last Connect. It was really interesting. Then I watched Steve Towers' dodgeball extravaganza. And it's like, okay, now I've just killed an hour or 40. And it's like, if I had unlimited time, I would watch more. So really there's more content than I can keep up with. I really don't have any recommendations. Steve's channel is awesome, obviously.
Yes,
Al, does some social media, Al Wilson. James Cass is doing a lot right now. But and I'm sure I'm missing some. There are plenty of people. Derek Jones has done some really good stuff. Rob Orrin, I can't forget Rob Orrin. Rob's Tabletop World. He's done some awesome stuff for both Play Now and Play. But we're just scratching the surface. There's so much content out there. It's really hard to make recommendations. I try to follow it as best I can, but it is limited.
Got one more question here. John Wise is up here. John
Wise.
Hello. And I even have my Hockey Blast shirt.
I love that.
Check it out. All right. John, pose your question. Go for it, bud.
2 questions. One question, Keith, when you actually have any downtime and you're not doing any research, which game of yours is your go-to game?
I play them all, I don't have a go-to game. I just played I've been participating in Neil Maitland's Southampton. He's doing an EPL project with Soccer Blast, which I love. I'm the Saints fan, Southampton Saints, so I get to play the Saints games, and that's fun. This Pro Football Showcase thing is next on my radar screen. That's something I definitely want to do. So football, I love playing. I love playing the Play Now games, and that's not to even mention the other games that I have, that are not play or sports oriented. I got a Tiny Epic Western for Christmas, and I've been meaning to get that out and play because I got a thing for Old West games. That's that's cool. What else? I love playing the baseball game. We're working on. The Continental League set that we put out at Christmas time was really near and dear to my heart. I love those what if, they're part fictional, part real, It's like, is this real or is this fictional? It's kind of both, That kind of thing really intrigues me. And again, the Pro Football Showcase also falls in that category. It's like real players it's like this is a very plausible scenario, and we get to. It's not real, but it's very plausible, and it could happen, and you can recreate it on your tabletop. So those kind of things really intrigue me, and those are the sorts of things I think I gravitate spending my free time toward investing in.
And my other question has to do with Hockey Blast. I have trouble doing like with the timing. It doesn't seem like I'm moving the clock as much as I know like during lulls, then that advances the time. But are there other situations that you come up quickly that at the end of a certain outcome, you then go to the next time?
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, I had somebody who they posted on the Facebook page and they said, man, I'm getting scores like 15-8, in hockey. It's like, and obviously they were not moving to the next minute. So essentially every action is 1 minute. You're probably just not advancing to the next minute when you should be.
Like when it chances like if it's a momentum check.
Momentum check will be you'll stay in that minute.
Okay. And I think that's like you said, I think that's what I'm doing. I think I'm staying in that minute and not advancing.
Which is right for momentum, because nothing happens with momentum except somebody hits somebody and establishes momentum. So you'll roll again for that minute. But generally speaking, like on a 2, or I'm thinking like on a 4, on a 1. What do they call it? A rush. The Zoom results, the ice blasts. Those are all like if you roll an 8, you're going to check both teams for the quality. And if the offense has more of it, they're going to get a play chance. If the offense doesn't have more, then it's just a turnover. You mark a little 0 in that box, you move to the next minute. Minute's over. And so, most of those minutes take 10 seconds. Many of them, Same thing with like the one-on-ones, the 6 on a die roll of 6. You roll a black 5 and a white 1. You look at the guy in the black 5 box, you look at the guy in the white 1 box. They're diametrically opposed to each other. You're checking for equality, the hit quality. Oh, offense guy didn't have it. That's it. It's over. You put a 0 there. You move to the next minute. You change your lines, move to the next minute. So it really, I think I do feel like it's easy to overthink it maybe, but really, you should be able to play a game of Hockey Blast in under a half hour, easy. And if you're having trouble, moving from thing to thing, there's not that many results that would cause you to stay in the same minute. I think 9 and 10 are really it. Now, as I'm thinking about it, 9 will keep you in the same minute. I think a 10 keeps you in the same minute. I haven't played the hockey game recently, but I think those are the only 2. Other than that, you should be going minute to minute. You should be blowing right through it.
Well, I can't wait until the convention. I've already signed up.
Yes.
I have to do my hotel reservations, but I'm totally looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it as well, John. And thanks for the plug. Yes, anybody watching, we have a room. We're about 3/4 full now, but there's still room for more people to join us in July here at the Play.com.
Thanks so much, John. Have a good evening, my friend.
You too. I'll still listen in the chat.
All right. Sounds great. So, Keith, before we go tonight, I want to get your NFL picks for this week. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give you the lines, too. So, since you're going to Vegas, we may as well, a lot of us, maybe throw a little money in Vegas so it's sitting there when we get there. So, the Las Vegas Raiders on Saturday are going to be playing the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals are a 6-point favorite. Now, giving up 6 and take a Bengals, or do you give 6 to the Raiders? Which one do you like?
I'm not much on the point spreads, but I'll tell it. I'll go with it. I think the Bengals will win that, and I think they will cover.
So you think they win by more than 6?
Don't bet your money on my picks. I'm just telling you.
Folks, definitely
do not do it.
Double down, guys. Patriots are going to Buffalo. Now they've played Buffalo twice this year. Mac Jones and company are going to Buffalo. Buffalo's a 4-point favorite. Can they beat them 3 times in a season?
That is a really tough one. I would have a hard time picking the straight up winner on that. Could go either way. Flip a coin. For both,
you're going to be giving up 4 points. So if you take the Bills, or you're getting 4 points, with the Patriots. So
Yeah, 4 points. Yeah, I don't know. That's not in my view. That's not really significant.
not a lot. Okay.
I think the straight up. I think if you could pick the straight up winner, and then do whatever you want with the points. But I'm telling you, that's really a tough one to pick. I think I probably would go with the Bills because they're due.
Okay.
But then let's have the Patriots to cover. Let's have the Bills with a 1 point win. How about?
Oh, okay. So
Rob, real quick, did I send Anthony the right link to the right email?
You did. Anthony's gonna be on in just a second.
Okay, good.
Anthony helped me get through COVID so much, so we're gonna bring Anthony on here. He's got a question to ask before we go tonight, but we're gonna get a couple more football picks from Keith first. Eagles are going to Tampa with Tom Brady, and they're 8.5 point favorites. The Buccaneers are.
I say the Bucks will win that. They'll cover.
Yeah, I think they win that one pretty easily too. I agree. The 49ers going to Dallas. Dallas are a 3 point favorite.
That's a tough one. The Niners really let me down by beating the Rams. But you gotta hand it to Jimmy G. Man, he played great. With a hurt thumb.
Yeah, but they're going to Dallas, and they only get 3 points.
Dallas has lost plenty of winnable games at Jerry World. So I'm gonna go with the Niners.
All right, and let's see. We got the Steelers going to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are 12.5 point favorites in this game.
I think I would take the Steelers. I don't know whether they're going to win.
Oh yes,
that's not a authentic Steelers jersey though. The Steelers don't have gold around their number.
No, they don't have gold around their number. But this guy right here, he's got gold coming to him in 5 years because he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
I'd like to see him knock off the Chiefs. I don't think they will.
I'd love to too. So you're going to take the Steelers?
I think they'll lose by less than 12.
I agree. And the Cardinals, they are going to your Rams. The Rams are a 4 point favorite. Cardinals been running mad over everybody lately. What's going to happen here?
Wait. The Cardinals been losing like crazy lately. Lost to the Seahawks last week.
Oh, that's right. But the week before that, they beat up on Dallas.
But the 3 weeks before that, they lost. I don't know about the Cardinals. I don't like either of those teams, really. I like the Cardinals more, but they're always so disappointing.
Now, hold on for a second. Just now, I thought you said the Rams, the 49ers beat up on your Rams, and then I was thinking that you wanted to see the Rams win because you had a whole lot behind the Rams as far as.
No, I want to see the Rams win because if the Rams won that game, the Saints would be in the playoffs.
Oh, that's right. You're the Saints, man. Okay, all right. So there's
that was highly disappointing, by the way, to go 17-0. They're leading, and they blow it. That's classic.
The Rams do the Saints in all the time.
They do. Yes, it's really troubling. It's like, why don't we follow the NFL anymore? I know how it's going to end. It's like they're leading 17-0, and I think, you just wait. Yeah, we know how this is going to work out.
So the Cardinals, Rams 4 point favorites.
I'll go with the Cardinals just to spite the Rams.
Now, Keith, I must tell you this one. This guy down below me right here, Anthony, helped me get through COVID. I got COVID on the 16th of December, and I got over it right around the 1st or 2nd of the year. So it took me a full 2 weeks. He was sending me stuff. Well, you can look at him. He's jacked anyway. He's got all these muscles and stuff. Anthony does. Look. And he's saying, Rob, take vitamin C. Rob, take zinc. What was the one you said take, Rob, for your muscles? What was that, Anthony?
The BCAAs for hydration.
Yeah. And I said, look, dude, I have never had a muscle in my life. I can't find one. But he did. I mean, he watched over me. Every day he was like, you taking your vitamins? I said, yep, taking my zinc, taking everything. First off, Anthony, before we do anything else.
I actually had to send him to his room like 3 times, Keith.
And he won't let you talk now, Anthony.
how's your dog, Anthony? Because he was going through puppy problems.
Yeah, he had a little Duke had a health scare. He's doing good, but I'm still going on about an hour and a half of sleep. Been at the hospital with him all night. So
Oh,
What
yeah.
kind of dog is it?
I've got 2 miniature pinchers.
Oh, okay.
And he was scared. He was scared. He had a heart attack. You got a question for Keith?
Heart failure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Dave Baseball Demos, I have to prove him wrong because you see in chat what he said about Keith. That Keith has the most hair.
I guess I do, don't I? Oh, here we go. Nice.
Not now, buddy.
All right.
So
I concede.
Oh, my
anyway,
God.
first off, too, I want to just give a shout out to you, Keith, because when I got started designing Glory Days boxing, I don't know if you remember, I reached out to you, and just got some very good tips. But some things I really took from you are the way you treat your customers, and that's kind of one thing I've tried to pattern myself after and provide that customer service. So big shout out to you and what you do.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad that I've inspired you in that way. That's treating people right is an important thing,
and a lost art now sometimes. But
yeah, boy, you're right about that. You're right about that.
I definitely have my favorite. This wig made me cough now. I have my favorite and least favorite parts about designing for sure. So that was my question for you. What is your most favorite part about being a game designer and your least favorite?
My most favorite part is obviously designing the games. It's fun to have an idea and flesh it out and make it happen on paper and then print it out. And Sam's really great at bringing it to life and making it look like it should. The least favorite is there's a lot of stuff that goes along. There's a lot of paperwork. I've got government stuff. I got like tax stuff I have to do. There's book work that I have to do. There's payroll stuff that I have to do. There's a lot of my time, is a lot of the stuff that takes me away from game designing. That would be my least favorite. But it's stuff that has to be done. Inventory, ordering stuff. There's a lot of things that have to be done in order to keep the bus moving. That would be the part that I don't like. I don't think there's really anything about designing that I don't like. I'm trying to think. Even when things don't work out, it's kind of comical. As I was mentioning earlier, the times when I've really been just really, really excited about an idea and spent time putting it all together, and then within 5 minutes, it's like, oh, this is horrible. Even that is kind of comical. It's like, well, how many times does that happen? So I would say there's not a lot about designing that I don't like.
I've been down that road. I will redo things 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and then go back to the first or second way I did it. Yeah. So,
is there ever a temptation to just kind of forget about having to do like real teams and stuff, and just kind of come up with your own games? So, obviously you're still going to have to do some play testing, but if you're trying to not worry about so much about being statistically accurate and just kind of make a game that's kind of its own sport and everything, or do you like the process of kind of nailing it down to where it kind of fits a statistical accuracy to a certain degree?
I would say I like both. There's a certain freedom that comes from creating your own sport, and we have Fury football and Fury hardball, which are we call them alt sports. But they're very fun, and it's very freeing to do those games. We did one of these business card games. We're doing this. We're making a bunch of games. We're going to put on business cards to hand out at Dice Tower West, and one of them is I call it Rugby 6. It's sort of like a rugby game, but you're sort of playing rugby, but you're not constrained by any stats or anything. And so it's all about choices you make as to how you want to move move the ball. So that's really fun. However, I would say that designing a simulation game pattern after a real sport has its own benefits in that you've got something. It's like painting a painting, and you're looking at somebody's face. You're doing a portrait of somebody, and you can look there and you can see and you can paint. So that's kind of the way it is when you're designing a sports sim. You've got this body of stats, and you can say, yeah, this needs to be. I've got too many of this. Too much of this, I need to dial this back a little bit. So this is the way this needs to feel. When you're playing a soccer game, there's this palpable increase in excitement as the build is happening, as the attack is being built, and things are just sort of gradually ratcheting up, and then bam, there's the shot. You want to recreate that. So there's the benefit of having a model, having something to pattern your game after. So I would say both have their benefits. So,
any other questions, Anthony?
Yeah, no, I was just saying in your games too, you add a lot of extra immersion you won't get in some of the more static, cards and dice where you just roll, get result. History Maker Baseball, you have your pregame checks and things of that nature that just add that additional flavor. The wrestling game as well, and I'm really loving your dodgeball game now. I'm playing that a lot.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a pretty engaging game. That's fun. So,
and then I guess my last question would be: do you design a lot of those games like your alt games are very much quick play games where you can get through a game in 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 15 even? Is that a focus for those type of games to kind of be a fun little, okay, I've got 20 minutes to kill, let me get this in now and kind of escape for a minute? Or
I would say that in this day and age, in this time, people want to spend less time playing games, but they still want it to be fun. So I wouldn't say we aim for 15 minutes, but I think 30 minutes is a good time frame. And if it comes in less than that, so much the better. I'm not a big fan of, rushing through something or doing something just to get it over with. It's like, well, if the main point is to finish it quickly, then why are you even doing it in the first place?
Right.
So I do feel like sometimes the whole idea of quick play is overemphasized or gets more credit than it really deserves. Particularly if you're just, if you're not getting a lot of satisfaction out of it. I think there's got to be at least some satisfaction, some engagement. But yeah, I do feel like people are more crunched for time, and a game that takes 20 minutes is going to get more play than a game that takes an hour to play. That's just the reality of it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me stop by, guys. And again, Keith, thanks for all you do for the hobby, and hope you all have a great night.
And thank you for all you do for the hobby. Appreciate it. Yeah, I do need to go here, Rob, real quick. So, but I do appreciate you having me on. It's been big fun. We'll do it again sometime.
One final thing. I want to buy second season football myself, second season express. Real quick, just the seasons you offer.
For football?
Yes. I don't have it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to order it myself.
All right. So we've got, let's see. We got the 1957 season, which is one of those cool part fictional, part real. It's got the 57 NFL, but it also includes the 57 AFL, like a what if the AFL is started in 1957 instead of 1960. It's super cool.
Gotcha.
Then we got 64, 69, 73, 76, 80, 84, 90, and then 99. And then we have PDF. Well, we got PDF versions of 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way starting with, I think it actually may go back to 2000. I think 2006 is the earliest PDF.
Okay, so
just for those who don't know, that game does work pretty good solitaire when you got that chart there, and you can kind of use your dice to kind of select the defense given the situation. You're down in yardage and stuff, and it'll pick a defense for you.
Right.
Keith, thanks so much for coming on tonight.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it so much. The anticipation from a lot of my jabronis, that's what we call ourselves here on the network. We're here all the time. We chatted up all the time. And once they heard you were going to be on tonight, a lot of them just said, "Hey, I'm here. I said, "Yep, we'll take everybody one by one. We'll just take some questions." Thank you so much for your time, sir. If you ever do come to Virginia, You got to come by and try my chili. I've had a couple of guys from my from in here actually slide by here and eat it before. I actually going to have some for dinner tonight myself. I love it, and I hope you will come by here sometime or another. And I hope to meet you maybe in March, because we've been known to go to Vegas before.
Oh, very nice. Well, if you show up, that'd be awesome.
Great. For Keith, my name is Rob. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Keith Avallone answered 10,000 questions. He said 9,000 was the cutoff line, so he exceeded that tonight. Keith White, thanks for taking care of the of invitations for everybody. And then until we see you again, thanks so much for coming on to the channel network.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good night.